Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with another Ixalan spoiler video. This is from September 12th and September 11th. Don't have too many to talk about today, but there are some good ones, especially the kind of the filler pieces that set up archetypes. Now, a lot of people know in the past I am a huge fan of what I consider a archetype called Grab and Go. Grab and Go is where you use spells to take your opponent's creatures and then other abilities or spells to fling them back at your opponent. So you get kind of double value out of all of your gain control type spells, as they're both damage and creature removal. So the first one that was spoiled today was this Captivating Crew for 4 mana for 4/3. So the stats are pretty decent on the Captivating Crew. I wish this was down 1 converted mana cost, so you get us out on turn 3 and then started using it on turn 4. I think that was a big blunder in design. They could have made this a 3/3 for 3 mana instead, and it would have been easily acceptable power level. But since the curve is way off here, either this should be reduced to 3, or yeah, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it, that it might keep this from seeing play. But it is kind of a neat little ability for 4 mana to gain control of a creature, especially if we're entering a format with huge dinosaurs. So being able to grab your opponent's creatures is going to be a lot more of an option, especially like Karizev's Expertise, for example, is going to be a lot more useful card. We are losing like Ulamog, that's traditionally been a great target to take, but the problem with Ulamog is it can be chump blocked, whereas a lot of these dinosaurs, you take them and then swing in with them, it is going to be lethal very quickly. So a Captain Crew is interesting. I don't know if it's going to replace anything like Karizev, but we do know that it will be supporting the this type of archetype, and there will be one that we'll talk about in a second too that goes along those lines. So the Indento Vanguard, as long as the Vanguard is attacking, gets +2/+0, and you can pay 4 life to make it indestructible. A decent little card in Limited. I'm not quite certain that it's going to be viable if a vampire strategy, it needs a lot of life gain to really make the pay 4 life worthwhile. I don't actually, the pay 4 life is pretty decent because people spend life on cards like Dismember to kill a creature. I don't think that paying 4 life to give it something indestructible is that far off of something that could be playable and constructed. Also it's a 3 when it attacks, which isn't terrible either. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see if this gets any more support with a Vampire Tribe to see if this is worthwhile. As is though Unlimited, this is very good because it can chump block to at least save you possibly even more life than taking the 4. Plus the indestructible is very good on a card Limited. Then we have River Sneak, which is 2 mana for a 1/1 Merfolk Warrior, can't be blocked. And then whenever Merfolk enters the battlefield, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Very solid card in Limited again. This is a perfect card to equip or put an enchantment on. And it does have the upside of becoming bigger every time a Merfolk is cast. So I think this is going to be, there might be, one of the things that took a lot of people by surprise is how good what the Slither Blade strategy was in Hour of Devastation. Or was that when did the Sliver come out? Yeah, that was Hour, right? Where you could just equip a bunch of equipment on the 1/2 unblockable, and how hard that was to deal with in Limited. Then we have the Charging Monstrosaur. 5 mana for 5 of Trample Haste. This is actually pretty decent stats. Kind of reminds me of cards like Thundermaw Hellkite. Of course, it's not there. The evasion's a little bit weaker than flying. Trample is going to get past like servos and little pirates. And 5 mana for 5 of haste, so it means it attacks the turn it comes in. This is something you want to pick up highly in Limited. And I also think that this could be playable in Constructed. Typically, 5 mana spells need to do a little bit more than what this creature does. But in the top of a curve in Ramming Up Red, for example, this is pretty decent with the Trample Haste, and then it sticks around for another turn after that. I mean, or in even a green-black or green-red aggro type shell or a black-red aggro type shell, this could definitely see play in Constructed. But Limited, this is going to be a bomb. Very aggressive with the stats here, and it has the dinosaur, which is going to enable a lot of other things like this Lancer. So it's a 1/1, and if you control a dragon, it gets double, or a dinosaur, it gets double strike. So pretty good little 1-drop that you can then curve into is there any 2-drop dinosaurs? I know there's the Metallic Mimic that can become a dinosaur. But Limited, I think this is going to be pretty solid as a 1-drop. Can get bigger, so anything that pumps it up later on. So anyway, not a bad card. And this is the card I did want to talk about, which is the Makeshift Munitions. So a wannabe Goblin Bombardment, 2 mana for an enchantment, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Makeshift Munition deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So I did say I wanted a way to sacrifice artifacts for the Marionette Master combo. We saw like Reckless Fireweaver and other cards like that that kind of work in this type of archetype. The thing is that it makes this really playable as an enchantment, so it can't be fatal pushed. So it can be your win con or at least your sack outlet on an enchantment. 1 mana isn't tough. Of course, we would prefer this to be just a sacrifice, but the 1 mana keeps it more fair. Back with Goblin Bombardment with decks like Prosh and EDH, that can become very, very annoying to deal with. But as is, though, sacrificing those servo tokens, sacrificing those treasures, deal 1 damage to a creature or player is pretty significant. The Makeshift Munitions does do the damage, not the creature, so you can't really give it Death Touch, but it's also a very good archetype in grab and go. Yahini's Expertise, you grab something, and then you do 1 damage back to them. Yahini's not Yahini's Expertise, Karyzev's Expertise. Karyzev's Expertise can grab vehicles, I believe. Not artifacts, but vehicles. But there is the other 3 mana card that can grab. Not Wrangle. There's another one that was printed out of Kaladesh. 1, a red, and it can grab an artifact or a creature. You can throw in this deck as well. To just the grab and go is there. Wrangle's really, really good. Karyzev Expertise is really good. And then this Makeshift Munitions is perfect as a fling type effect. So I will be building that deck. I'm sure Makeshift Munitions will hit my top 10 cards I want to brew around. These are what we like to call catnip cards for Kevin. Whenever I see cards that are printed like this, I just have to brew around them. Vicious Conquistador. The only thing that I like about this is maybe the Vampire Tribe will get support here, but I still think that at the moment, maybe Walking Ballista, having to ping this twice is a little bit better, but we already have a card like this in Night Market Lookout. Whenever it becomes tapped, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life, so this is just a weaker version of that. If the toughness is relevant, we'll have to wait and see, but typically these cards do see play. Modern now gets interesting because there's a ton of Vampire 1-drops that are pretty aggressive, but probably not going to be enough to make it worthwhile. This is going to be a nice little card, though, for the Markov, the commander deck. I still like building Markov Swarm. I've got a lot of criticism for that deck in Commander, but I've played against it, and it's pretty powerful. You want to be casting 1s and 2-drops and then flooding the board out. Got to think of it as like Krenko. Anyway, now we're on to the September 11th spoilers. Trove of Temptation, 4 mana. Each opponent must attack you with a planeswalker or a creature. Attack you or a planes... Okay. Each opponent must attack you or a planeswalker you control with at least 1 creature each combat. And beginning of your end step, you create an artifact that adds 1 mana to your mana pool. So it has a little bit of ramp ability because on your turn number 6 or turn number 5, you can cast a 6-drop. And it does give you that constant supply of artifacts. Treasures to sacrifice, so Makeshift Munition type cards or anything that deals with that. Reckless Fireweaver, that's not bad, and you can force the creatures to attack in, which can either make them attack into something that isn't good, or then you can have an open board on the backswing. But the 4 mana is quite awkward for this card. I think it wants to be a 3 or even possibly a 2. But that's going to... turn 4 would rather cast a Trove of Temptation or would rather cast a Chandra. It's going to keep that back. I mean, who's going to play that? So, Commander gets a little bit cooler because each opponent must attack you. For whatever that's worth, but 4 mana is still a lot of investment. Drowsing Dagger. Enters battlefield, target opponent creates 2/0/2 green plant tokens. Equip creature is +2/+1, and whenever it deals combat damage, it then transforms. So let's take a look at the transform version of this, and it turns into Lost Veil, which can add 3 mana of any color to your mana pool. So it's basically a wannabe Gilded Lotus here. So turn 3, you can equip it to a creature, a 1-drop, and then the problem though is you need it on like an unblockable creature. So there's a lot of things that are tough. It gives them 2 defenders, your opponent. It only gives +2/+1. It's equipped 2, so it's going to take both your second turn and your third turn to then hopefully be able to attack in. So I think that some sort of unblockable deck could run it. We do have, I believe, 2 1-drops that have unblockable. Maybe we don't anymore. But a Menace doesn't even work either. Menace can at least take down the 2 defenders. Well, no, it's still only take 1 defender down. It's going to be tough to turn this into a Lost Veil. In Commander, this is a lot better because it's easy to hit the open opponent. You just give this to the opponent you don't want to attack and then attack into another one. And then you have this nice little land to add 3 mana of any one color mana pool. So, cool design. Not sure if it's playable and constructed. Alright, so then on to Spell Swindle. 5 mana to counter a spell and create X colorless treasure artifact tokens where X is that spell's converted mana cost. This seems busted with that win the game. Doesn't it curve perfectly? Isn't that a 4 mana spell that if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep? So this then allows you to counter something and add a ton of treasures. Something with Anointed Processions could get out of control. So basically this is a wannabe mana drain. Spell Swindle then counters it, and then you have a bunch of artifacts. This is kind of cool with Marionette Masters, as it gives you a lot of artifacts to then both ramp up to, like God Pharaoh's Gift, for example, or then just use for Reckless Fireweaver, Marionette Master type stuff. I think this is a pretty decent card at 5. We've had didn't we have a counterspell that did Clues already? It was hard to play though at 5. I'm not sure which one would be better. This sets up a huge turn 6 for sure. You counter your opponent's either 5 or 6 drop, and then have what, 11 or 12 mana open on your turn 6. That's pretty significant. Snapping Sailback, 5 mana for a 4/4 enrage. Whenever it is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Is there a way to go infinite with this with like Walking Ballista? Whenever creature you control gets +1/+1 counter, each other creature gets +1/+1 counter. Isn't there a card like that? I'm not certain, but it's a decent little card with flash. 5 mana 4/4. I could see this seeing play in the Walking Ballista Winding Constrictor sideboard, but it's really competing at that time with Verdurous Gearhulk, so would rather Verdurous Gearhulk out or something like this. It's going to be a bomb in limited, though. Another very, very solid uncommon, which could be Dinosaurs Undoing, though. Like, what happens a lot of times in draft, if one of the archetypes is just above and beyond better than the others, is then multiple people get into that, and then there's just not enough cards to go around, and then they like secondary strategies get a lot better because you get all of it. But just keep that in mind when you're limiting. So anyway, here's the card that I wanted to get to, which is Legion's Landing. This is a card that I do believe is playable as a one-of in Soul Sisters. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink, which is pivotal because that curves perfectly with the Ajani's Pridemate. It will work later on with your Soul Sisters. And whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you transform it, and it turns into this gem, which is a land that adds a white to your mana pool, and you can create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. So it then can give you those creatures over and over and over again. So this will go as a one-of in Soul Sisters, I think, indefinitely. I've been looking for 2 cards. Like right now I'm using Smuggler's Copter in that slot, but I haven't been impressed with it in the current meta. Smuggler's Copter will get better if you like Control or Living End even, and become bigger in the meta. However, as is, it's just Smuggler's Copter is just a liability a lot of times and just doesn't do what I want it to do. However, like either putting 2 Legion Landings or just 1, I mean, it doesn't hurt. If you just put 1 in the deck, it's not gonna be bad. This transforms. It's very easy to transform with the Spectral Processions, for example, and then you have this land that can start generating you a creature after creature after creature, which can then stabilize you against a lot of decks. So I absolutely do like this card a lot. What's really cool about it too is then a 1/1 lifelinker always makes your Pridemates that you top deck a little bit better. Then makes even cards like the post sideboard, the Return to the Ranks, you get a creature then to tap towards reducing the convoke towards bringing more cards back from the graveyard. All in all, I think this is a very, very solid card. I don't know if you'd want more than 1 of, because it does, I don't know, maybe it's not that bad if you have 2 of them out because it just destroys it and you still get the white vampire creature. So either a 1 to a 2 of I think is right for this card. Alrighty, so I think that's everything. Pretty solid spoilers. Liking this set a lot from Ixalan. My favorite 2 of cards, of course, from this one would definitely be the Legion's Landing and the Makeshift Munitions. Very excited to be playing this. Pre-release is coming out in, what, 2 weeks? And less than 2 weeks? And, yeah. Should be a lot of fun. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.